Big developments today, big developments in fact coming straight out of the courts, the High Court. Viewers, the truth is very inconveniencing sometimes. And as you know, for the last few years, Times Now has been attacked for its coverage of the Delhi riots. Why? Because we displayed the temerity to debunk the ecosystem's narrative, viewers. It's as simple as that. The ecosystem has been claiming that Umar Khalid, the controversial activist who was being accused by the police for allegedly orchestrating the Delhi riots of 2020, was being targeted for his religion, for being a Muslim. In fact, the ecosystem used the term Rwanda radio to refer to Times Now in this context. The insinuation was that Times Now, through its reporting, was trying to fan the fires of majoritarianism by victimizing Muslims, in particular Umar Khalid. In Rwanda, apparently, viewers, the government-controlled radio service became an instrument in the hands of the authorities to demonize one tribe, which led to mass ethnic cleansing. But viewers, all Times Now did was to report the evidence and speak to eyewitnesses referenced by the police in its charge sheets. 3 charge sheets, all of which went on to indict Khalid and other alleged rioters. Today, viewers, the ecosystem's narrative that Times Now is Islamophobic, that the police is Islamophobic, that the courts somehow have been seduced by Hindutva, has been punctured through and through. Times Now stands vindicated. The body blow to the ecosystem has been delivered this time by the Delhi High Court that has made some eye-opening, if not astounding, revelations in its order rejecting a bail plea filed by Umar Khalid while the court has not passed judgment. It has noted that Umar Khalid formulated a plan that, in its words, Prima facie would be covered by definition terrorist act, unquote. So viewers, the court in its order, and I have this order in my hand. It's a 52-page order. Here it is, 52 pages of it. And it says, the attack on police personnel by women protesters in front, only followed by other ordinary people, in engulfing the area into a riot, is the epitome of such premeditated plan. And as such, the same would prima facie be covered by the definition of terrorist act. I'm not saying these words, viewers. It's the court. The court also pointed out certain admitted facts that suggest that Umar Khalid was at the heart of, in the words of the court, planning not a typical protest, normal in political culture or democracy, but one far more destructive and injurious, geared towards extremely grave consequences. Now, viewers, what were these consequences? These consequences were, viewers, the death of dozens in Delhi. What really is the problem here, viewers? The problem is that after the government decided to bring in the CAA, the law, and enacted it, protests broke out. Shaheen Bagh became the talisman of the protests here in Delhi. Viewers, now we are being told that to keep the pot boiling, a group of people, including Umar Khalid, allegedly worked together. One group called the PFI has, of course, been recently banned for terror activities. But the court says there is prima facie evidence to suggest that Khalid Sharjeel Imam, another incendiary, and the PFI held secret meetings, not once, on several occasions. In its conclusions, the police said that there is enough evidence to engineer these protests, to stoke tempers and spark a riot, all in the name of suggesting that the government was planning a pogrom against the minorities using the CAA and the NRC architecture, disenfranchising them from this country. These were canons, viewers. We all know that the CAA and NRC do not in any way take away the citizenship of minorities. That was the spin. It agitated people, and people, viewers, took to the streets. It coincided, rather embarrassingly for the government, with the visit of Donald Trump, who was the then President of the United States, while he was holding talks in Hyderabad House in the northeast of Delhi, viewers. The streets were on fire. It was very bad publicity, viewers. And now we are being told that the name of the appellant finds recurring mention from the beginning of the conspiracy till the culmination of the ensuing riots. Admittedly, the court said he was a member of a WhatsApp group of Muslim students of JNU. He participated in various meetings in Jantar Mantar, Jangpura office, Shaheen Bagh, Seelampur, Jafrabad, and Indian Social Institute on various states. He was a member of the DPSG group. He referred to the visit of the President of the USA to India in his Amravati speech, which was, according to the courts, that is referencing the charge sheet, a dog whistle to spark violence. The CDR, which is the call data records analysis, depicts that there had been a flurry of calls that happened post-riots among the appellant and other accused. The cumulative statement of the protected witnesses indicates the presence and active involvement of the appellant in the protests engineered against the CAA and NRC. Admittedly, these protests metamorphosed into violent riots in February 2020. Viewers, this is a paragraph. I've diligently underlined it and I'm reading it out to you. Now, viewers, we all know that Umar Khalid and the entire ecosystem wanted to construct this narrative that there was rampant Islamophobia. The question is, will this ecosystem today continue to project Umar Khalid as a victim of Islamophobia and continue with their diabolical design? Now, let me very quickly go through why the High Court, taking all these factors into account, denied bail to Khalid. They said it's enough incriminating material against Khalid, including the support to a chakka jam. No grounds for believing that prima facie charges against Khalid are not proved. Very important. UAPA is not just the intent to strike terror, but the likelihood to strike terror. Remember, Khalid is booked under UAPA, which is an anti-terrorism provision. Witnesses stated role of Umar in meetings on violence, riots, finance, weapons. Meetings attended by Sharjeel Imam, Umar Khalid, one with the PFI as well. PFI, which is of course now banned. It's a terrorist organization, viewers. Incriminating material against Khalid, including the Amravati speech. Amravati speech done clandestinely despite prohibitory orders. Call to revolution may affect many beyond those who are visibly present. That's precisely what happened, viewers. It roiled tempers. CCTV footage and flurry of calls between accused merits consideration. Premeditated conspiracy to cause incitement leading to riots. Premeditated plan would be covered under the definition of terrorist act, as I just told you, viewers. And name of Umar, beginning of conspiracy till culmination of the ensuing riots is surfacing all through. The High Court didn't concur with Khalid's defense, and for the sake of balance, let me put out what Umar Khalid was saying in court through his lawyers, viewers. He said that using word revolution is not a crime. He said, never gave a call for violence in my speeches. Anti-CA agitators want to be part of India. did not terrorize or threaten the sovereignty of the nation. Khalid in prison now for 2 years based on hearsay. And he says that being in WhatsApp group isn't criminally liable. These were some of his counters. Obviously, the court hasn't concurred and they denied him bail. The ecosystem, of course, shows no sign of ending the denial. Hear them hold forth on Khalid's rights rather than the rights of the 53 who perished in these riots. Listen in to some of these reactions, viewers. Okay, there are no bites, viewers. So people like Rashid Alvi of the Congress, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, they're of course don't like to come on camera. They're tweeting away. And I'm sorry I messed that up. Student Islamic Organization of India again tweeted today. So did Tariq Anwar. Let's put those tweet quotes out. Do we have those or do we not have those? There they are. There they are, viewers. Nizam Bhai has put them out. Student Islamic Organization of India says incarceration of Khalid in frivolous, unproven grounds. Freedom threatened by an authoritarian state. Judiciary must do more to restore faith in it. This is what the Student Islamic Organization of India said. The Congress has come out and said, I feel police and government hasn't done justice to him. This is Rashid Alvi. Manu Singhvi of the Congress says Khalid can exercise his right to challenge this. Of course he can, viewers. This is a democracy that is still based on the rule of law. Tariq Anwar, Congress General Secretary, says Umar has the choice of appealing to the Supreme Court. And of course in the past, viewers, Salman Soz, a Congress leader, says court not protecting right to dissent is a huge problem. Many other statements. Prashant Bhushan, Supreme Court lawyer, says cover up to save the real perpetrators. Innocents have been framed. Amanatullah Khan of the AAP said Tahir Hussain targeted for being a Muslim. Mehbooba Mufti, PDP chief, said religion determines if one is to be jailed. So, viewers, this entire Islamophobia, Arundhati Roy, the author, said efforts made to normalize Islamophobia. And so, viewers, today, one must ask on the back of what the High Court said. The High Court said, viewers, can we continue to suggest that Mr. Umar Khalid is a victim of Islamophobia? Let's ask some of these fundamental questions. Let me bring in Vivek Srivastava, who's a political analyst, sometimes, of course, moonlights also as the CPI's spokesperson, but today I'm told that he's here in his capacity only as a political analyst. Okay. Tehseen Poonawala, another political analyst, very close to the Congress setup. We also have Ravi Srivastava, an advocate, Ehtesam Hashmi, political analyst, who's also close to the Congress. We have Sushil Pandit, rights activist, Ishkaran Bhandari, an advocate, and Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. Only Sanju Verma is not ashamed of being part of a political outfit. The rest have, of course, camouflaged their loyalties tonight, and that's okay. That's fine. That's okay. We can live with that. But what you can't camouflage, viewers, is the truth. And the truth, as I told you, has this very inconvenient habit of surfacing. So first, I want to begin with the advocate Ehtesam Hashmi and Vivek Srivastava Sahab. Vivek Srivastava, I want to ask you, will you continue to concur with all of those who said that Umar Khalid is being persecuted because of his religion?
Well, lot in India has changed post 2014 and we are all aware of it. And I will not call Times Now anything like Radio Rwanda. But however, still I appeal to you to be neutral today in the debate. My first point is that the Amravati speech, which is being quoted time and again, I think nobody has read it. If somebody reads the entire speech, it talks of non-violence, it talks of peaceful protest. So the entire speech is not being quoted. Only selective parts from the Amravati speech of Umar Khalid are being quoted. Point number two is that when there were more than 900 witnesses to be interviewed and talked of, and the documentation work was still going on, and it is still, I do not know what is the state of completion even till date, you are still putting an Indian citizen behind the bars and not giving him bail. So, I mean, I respect the courts and their judgment should be respected. However, it is a point that we all need to wonder about. Then thirdly, protesting against the CAA or the abolition of 370 is not wrong under the constitution. If we do not agree with a particular bill, if we do not agree with the abolition of 370, constitutionally I have the right to actually protest. I have the right to make a speech, talk, discuss, and also let the government know what I think of. So I mean, maybe if somebody is against CAA or if somebody is against the abolition of 370 was a part of this nation for a long time, it doesn't make me anti-national.
Okay.
And lastly, you mentioned Donald Trump. Donald Trump also went to Ahmedabad and many other places. So it was not a conspiracy against Trump. Nothing happened in Gujarat. So, I mean, we need to give Umar Khalid a neutral space. We need to not be biased when we talk of him and let him be judged as an Indian citizen. That is what I would like to say.
Okay, so note viewers, note how Mr. Srivastava has not answered the question I asked him. He went off on a tangent and he first started out by saying, no one has gone into the Amravati speech. Now viewers, on page 44, I told you I have the entire judgment here. Page 44, go to clause 58. Now viewers, you can also access this. It doesn't take rocket science. It's uploaded on all the websites, viewers, including Times Now. Just go there and you can read this order in detail. The court goes into this speech and the phraseology of the speech in detail, referencing words like Inqalabi Salam, Krantikari Istiqbal, and it then looks at the larger context. It says that in the submission of the appellant, which is Mr. Khalid, these words were used as a call to boycott an unjust law, and the speech neither spread terror of any kind nor did it excite anyone present there, and merely a shamiana was set up where people came and left peacefully, and there was nothing provocative about the speech delivered by the appellant. It was only aimed at exposing the non-functioning government and the law targeting one community. So the appellant has been quoted, viewers, by the High Court. And then the High Court says, and I quote it, "However, this court is not impressed by the argument of the appellant inasmuch as the call to revolution does not have to affect only the immediate gathering. The call to revolution may affect many beyond those who were visibly present, which is why this court finds it apt to mention Robespierre, who was at the vanguard of the French Revolution. This court is of the view that possibly if the appellant had referred to Maximilien Robespierre for what he meant by revolution, he must have known that revolution meant for our freedom fighter and first Prime Minister." Suffice to say, viewers, it's a long explanation, but it goes on to say that these calls, while they may not itself always emphasize being bloodless, which is why it is contradistinctly used with a prefix, a bloodless revolution. So when we use the expression revolution, it's not necessarily bloodless. This course is reminded of, although the activity of revolution is an essential quality, may not be different from the point of view of Robespierre and Pandit Nehru, in its potentiality and its effect upon public tranquility, there can be a vast difference, and it begins to quote certain precedents. So let me first address what Mr. Vivek Srivastava said upon the speech aspect. Protesting is not wrong. Of course protesting is not wrong. And let me tell you, viewers, all of this is prima facie. No one has passed any particular judgment right now. We are only evaluating the evidence on whether it adds up, whether it is even admissible. And what does the court say about protests? It says, in the context of Mr. Khalid, the protest plan was not a typical protest. And the word "not a typical protest" is italicized for emphasis, viewers. The planned protest was not a typical protest normal in political culture or democracy, but one far more destructive and injurious, geared towards extremely grave consequences. Thus, as per the premeditated plan, there was an intentional blocking of roads to cause inconvenience and disruption of the essential services to the life of community residing in northeast Delhi, creating thereby panic and alarming sense of insecurity. They're talking about the Hindu community here, viewers. The attack on police personnel by women protesters in front only followed by other ordinary people, and engulfing the area into a riot is the epitome of such premeditated plan, and as such the same would prima facie be covered by the definition of terrorist act. So Mr. Vivek Srivastava today is trying to whitewash what the court prima facie believes is a terrorist act. The question would be, why? One second, Vivek ji, I'm not arguing with me.
You don't feel that the likes of Kapil Mishra and Anurag Thakur...
One second, sir, please. Srivastava ji,
Kapil Mishra and Anurag
Thakur, the courts haven't...
your category of instigators, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Do you think that I would support any moron, including any of these people that you have mentioned, if they have gone out and said what they have said according to you? But the point is, sir, the court hasn't indicted them. It has indicted Mr. Khalid. So you can bring in other examples, and I'll give you all that opportunity, and I always do, to create your equivalences. Sure. No problems with that. This is an open country. But you didn't address my question. You tried to confuse viewers. Sir, please, sir, give me 30 seconds now. Give me 30 seconds. Vivek ji, you tried to confuse viewers by saying that the court hadn't gone into the specifics.
Just one small point,
I was only setting the record straight. If you don't want me to, it's okay.
In 2016, Rahul ji, no, that's okay. In 2016, Rahul ji, Umar Khalid was accused of going to Pakistan, having links with them, having Facebook photos, and later on it was discovered in media. People were laughing at the Delhi police when it came to the conclusion that he doesn't even have a passport.
Please.
So what is the knowledge being fed to the courts? What is the kind of language the police is writing? There are a lot of questions.
This is not the police writing the language, sir. This is the court.
We will be in a position to speak more.
Sir, it was a court.
Yeah.
We are talking about not the police, it's the court. The court has analyzed. Now, one minute. Srivastava ji, please.
An Indian citizen, yes.
ठीक है, okay. आपने कह दिया ना जो कहना था. Court भी writes crap and so does the police. It's okay, sir. All these institutions are crappy. Let's shut them down. Let's dismantle them. It's okay. I understand the Marxist position. We have seen how you articulated it in America. It's okay. It's fine. Now, one second. Let me open this up. Let me bring in Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. I'm not talking about your right to speak, sir. I'm only questioning your logic here. It's okay. No problems. It's okay. You tried to construct a narrative where you suggested that all the facts hadn't been gone into. I was only correcting the record. That's all. You said protesting is not wrong. We are not talking about protests here. We are talking about prima facie a terrorist act that the High Court has flagged. We are talking about an Amravati speech that the court believes had an influence to create fear, anxiety, tensions, which led to what we have seen on our pictures. And thirdly, sir, I just want to correct you. I didn't say that this was done to embarrass Trump. I said, embarrassingly, these riots broke out when President Trump was visiting in front of a foreign head of state. Why was it done? Viewers, perhaps to embarrass India, to promote this international thesis that India has become an Islamophobic Hindu Rashtra. That is why, viewers. Let me first bring in Sanju Verma on this, the national spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party. Vivek Srivastava has again said, ma'am, that the law here works only against one set of people. It didn't work against other hate mongers like the 2 or 3 people he named who are part of your political party. So in the interest, once again, of balance, would you like to respond to him on that specific charge that he has made, though it has nothing to do with this debate nonetheless?
You know, Rahul, first and foremost, many congratulations to you, because I think you have brilliantly summed up the entire judgment by reading out various relevant paragraphs. I will answer to the allegation, albeit frivolous, made by Vivek Srivastava. But I just want to say one thing. You know, to sum up what you said and put it in the right context, Justice Siddharth Mridul and Rajneesh Bhatnagar actually emphasized in paragraph 65 on 8 points. Point number 1, Umar Khalid's name has been recurringly mentioned. Point number 2, part of various WhatsApp groups. Point number 3, the Amravati speech. Point number 4, CDR records. Point number 5, witness statements. Point number 6, the manner in which chakka jams were orchestrated. Point number 7, the kind of weapons used with an intent to cause grievous injury. And point number 8, these protests and riots prima facie seem to be orchestrated at the conspiratorial meetings held from December 2019 till February 2020 with an intent to cause grievous harm and with an intent to disturb the social fabric of the society and instill fears in a certain section of the society. So, first and foremost, please do not disrespect and second guess the court's verdict. And let me tell you one more thing, that there were a couple of other co-conspirators, let me call them alleged co-conspirators because they are out on bail. There was Natasha Narwal, there was Devangana Kalita, there was former Congress councillor Ishrat Jahan, there was JNU so-called leader Asif Iqbal Tanha. But Umar Khalid's bail plea has been rejected, and I will just take 10 seconds to tell you why. While reading out the final part of the judgment, Justice Siddharth Mridul actually said that the bail plea has no merit. It is devoid of any merit. On the in-depth and considered perusal of the charge sheet, the accompanying documents, and in view of the discussions herein above, only for the limited purpose of the present bail, this court expresses blah 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 that prima facie the allegations are true and the bail is denied, and the benefits that would normally go to a person under section 43B5 of the UAPA were not made available to Umar Khalid. I will take 10 seconds to tell you, there is one statement by Umar Khalid on various WhatsApp groups which has been repeatedly referred to in various hearings in the last 2 years, where Umar Khalid says, ये सरकार मुसलमानों के खिलाफ है, सिर्फ भाषण देने से काम नहीं चलेगा, खून बहाने की और आग लगाने की तैयारी करो. Can any court neglect these kind of incendiary and inflammatory statements? And if Mr. Vivek Srivastava is weighing in on the court's bona fides, shame on him.
Justices Bhatnagar and Justices Mridul have pronounced, viewers, their verdict on this, but they've also said nothing stated herein above shall tantamount to an expression of any opinion on the merits of the case. So it's very important that we remember that. The man is not convicted as of now. This was in the context of a bail hearing. Ishkaran Bhandari is also here with us. He's an advocate. I want to bring in right now Mr. Tehseen Poonawala. Mr. Poonawala, I want to read out something more that the court has said. It said it was decided to induce local women of Seelampur to start stockpiling knives, bottles, acids, stones, chili powder and other dangerous articles to be used in rioting as part of a conspiracy. The plan was to escalate the protest to the next level of Chakka Jam and then riots. The court said this, citing the claims made by protected witnesses, which, if you look at the order, are referred to by certain code names. Now, Mr. Poonawala, I want to ask you a question based on this statement that has been with great fidelity captured by the court and reproduced. And that question is, Mr. Poonawala, how is a community that believes that it has become a victim, how would it be bold enough? How would it think it's empowered enough to stockpile these weapons to attack another community? That just says that this Islamophobia narrative is not just irresponsible, it is an assault, deliberate assault to malign the country. And unfortunately, a large number of your colleagues or friends in the Congress party, not colleagues, but friends, since you maintain a distinction from them, are advancing this thesis. Would you agree with me or not, sir?
No, with humility, I disagree with you. And I disagree with you on the fact that A community planned to attack B community. I do believe, and I'm not a sympathizer of Umar Khalid, I have never been a sympathizer of Umar Khalid, but I do believe that the evidence so far presented you very rightly or presented before the honorable courts have been flimsy at best, but I will get into that later. But if these evidences are enough to convict or to put Umar Khalid in jail, which fine, I respect the court, why is the other side of the spectrum, those who said desh ke gaddaro ko goli maro, in next to a deputy commissioner of police, by the same logic not in jail? I think Umar Khalid is in jail, I respect that. Why is the other side of the spectrum not in jail? And I'll tell you why. Rahul, if you are not in jail and I am not in jail, it is because the government does not want us in jail. The day the government wants us in jail, it will take any flimsy ground and throw us in jail, and nothing can happen. Otherwise, a man who comes from the BJP and says desh ke gaddaro ko goli maro in front of the deputy commissioner by the same logic and says for a chakka jam himself to counter another chakka jam should also be in jail. But that's not happened. And that, Rahul, shows that the political involvement in this conspiracy. One last thing. The Home Minister of the country was perhaps snoozing that Donald Trump, a very respected guest of India, was in India and such conspiracies were taking place and he had no idea what was happening underneath his nose. And this is the third time he's been caught off guard. He was caught off guard when China intruded. He was caught off guard before in Delhi and he's caught off guard second time in Delhi. So shouldn't the Home Minister by the same logic resign?
Okay, sir, let me just quickly point out, and viewers, again, please note that Mr. Poonawalla did not respond to the question I asked him. He sidestepped it, and then he began to play another card. The point is, viewers, Mr. Poonawalla belongs to a minority community. He himself has said that many times.
I mean, it is, sir.
On this, that doesn't matter. So it's your identity.
My identity is only Indian.
Let me finish.
My identity is only
Several
Indian.
times you have sat here and invoked your mixed parentage. And that happened perhaps even in the last debate, because it's convenient to you at certain times to invoke origins. Now, viewers, he's also a bitter critic. You could consider him to be one of the most outspoken dissidents. He sits here and vents his spleen at Amit Shah pretty much every debate. But he's not in jail. Why? What sets him apart from Umar Khalid? No, 1 second. In the eyes of a Islamophobic government, he's one and the same. But he sits here and he enjoys all the freedoms, and then he says, the only reason I'm not in jail is because they don't want me in jail. Why are they doing this favor to him? Does he pay a hafta? I'm asking you, Mr. Poonawalla, do you pay a hafta to the government not to lock you up? Simple question.
Well, Rahul, it's a matter of time when this government will go after every dissident. This government is the one who releases,
So you said you're not a fan. So you also said you're not a fan of Umar Khalid, but let me remind you, sir, that some of your family members, Rahul Gandhi stood next to Umar Khalid, embraced him, hugged him, and called him a great voice for freedom. Did you approve of that? Since you're not a fan of Umar Khalid, did you approve of Rahul Gandhi legitimizing Umar Khalid and his politics? Simple question.
I don't think Rahul legitimized Umar Khalid. I think he went to JNU to stand for the students' freedom.
Oh, I see. He went there to see a university that he never had the privilege of attending. Okay, fair enough. That's your call. Look, viewers, they can constantly change the goalposts. They can constantly change the goalposts. I wish I had come prepared enough to play the bite of Rahul Gandhi, who stood right next to Umar Khalid, right here. I remember that. Put his arm around him. There was also Sitaram Yachuri, another Marxist. I couldn't understand, because you see, Umar Khalid, viewers, belonged to, at that time, or was in transit, I can't quite remember now, and I'll reserve that, but he was part of a ultra-left organization. Ultra-left. So I don't understand where the Congress's politics coincided with Umar Khalid's. He led, in fact, even during the Congress years, a campaign, some would say, against the Congress government also. But still, it made for a great political photo op, so it was. Ishkan Bhandari, what do you make of this? Today, this whole Islamophobia bogey that was whipped up to try and shield these Umar Khalid and others, and today the court's observations, not oral observations, written observations in this order.
It's the order. Rahul, first let me read 4 or 5 lines because these are of seminal importance to Delhi riots. मैं पहले भी कह चुका हूं, अगर 5 लाख लोग हों हमारे पास ऑर्गेनाइज्ड, तो हम हिंदुस्तान और असम को परमानेंटली कट कर सकते हैं, परमानेंटली नहीं तो कम से कम एक आध महीने के लिए तो ये कर ही सकते हैं। मतलब इतना मवाद डालो पटरियों पर, रोड पर, कि उनको हटाने में एक आध महीना लग जाए। असम को काटना हमारी जिम्मेदारी है। Now let me stop. This is Sharjeel Imam.
Yeah, it's not over.
In his speech, let me finish. In Delhi riots. So there is a difference. A chakka jam or a protest in an organized spot in a democracy or tehseen, criticizing the government in the most strident language, naming ministers, prime ministers is criticism. But when you have a plan to convert a protest into breaking the unity and integrity of India into riots, and that plan can be organized by merely mobilizing people to cut off Northeast from India, then that is a terror activity under every definition of law, including these laws. And what the court has found, that this Umar Khalid was in constant touch with all, or rather the major co-conspirators. We are at the stage of bail. So once it has been found that his speech, even though permission was not given, and when President Trump was coming, let us be very clear, the President of US is in a unique position, like it or not. They claim to be the leaders of the free world. The impact of US media, that is why they keep running to New York Times, Washington Post, caking out that despicable act in Wall Street Journal, where they were targeting individual judges also. That was intimidation tactic. Our judiciary is strong enough to resist it. But see the tactic they were trying to do. So all that global attention they wanted is what probably the judge is referring to, that they organized it during President Trump's visit. The language used and what happened afterwards, the riots, 50 people killed, including that IB officer, that all during a bail hearing has to be taken as a whole. His linkages with co-conspirators were established. His speech stood established. His presence in WhatsApp groups with other co-conspirators stood established. And 50 citizens of this country died. That is why he was denied bail. Let us be clear. These were not students. These were not scholars. These were terrorists who belong in jail.
Okay, of course. Allegedly, one second. I want to bring it. 1 second, sir. 1 second. Give me 30 seconds. Please. Mr. Hashmi is also waiting. And so is Ravi Srivastava ji. Sushil Pandit is also being very patient. And Sanju Verma is already raising her hand. So let me just, give me 30 seconds. Let me just take a quick response or two from two of the other guests who have been waiting. Mr. Hashmi, how do you respond to the charge that Ishkaran Bhandari has made that there was an orchestrated campaign to try and whitewash a terrorist act, quote unquote terrorist act, that I am not calling, but prima facie is being suggested by the High Court double bench?
See, I am not trying to challenge the criminal law knowledge of my learned friend Ishkaran Bhandari, but I respectfully disagree with him that it's not a trial. Evidence are false or evidence are true, or these facts are false or these facts are true is a matter of trial. In bail application, these kinds of things should not be discussed. Our Honorable Supreme Court of India,
I will let him finish.
I would like
you can
to
respond.
quote Justice Krishna here that bail is a rule. That bail is a rule and jail is an exception. If you want to punish them during the hearing of bail application before trial, then it's a wrong law. Why you want to give so much finding in the bail application that finally they will hamper the trial? Then what's the purpose of criminal trial? This I am not supporting Umar Khalid. I am not.
Mr. Hashmi, are you questioning just very quickly? You're an advocate. You're an advocate. Are you questioning just very quickly the wisdom of the bench? Very simple.
Rahul, see, as a lawyer, I am not questioning the wisdom of the bench. And then I just want to say one thing to you, Rahul.
No, are you today? No, 1 second, sir. No, 1 second.
One second. Umar Khalid,
Hashmi
sir, read the judgment passed in Bilkis Bano case?
Hashmi sir.
Rahul,
Hashmi sir, 1 minute. Hashmi sir, please refer.
Bano as your sister?
1 second.
All
1 second. Hashmi sir. Hashmi sir.
Bilkis Bano as your sister, please tell me.
Hashmi Saab.
No, the debate-
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Sanju Verma, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Let me speak for myself. Hashmi Saab, just look at my tweet. 1 second. Just look at my tweet, Hashmi Saab, on Bilkis Bano. 1 minute. Let me finish now. Let me finish.
Through the judgment.
I'm going to lower your fader if you don't allow me to finish. Okay, we've lowered his fader. He can blather on and talk through this entire program if he wishes. We have lowered your fader, sir. You don't let anyone else speak. You don't understand decorum. I don't know what law you practice, how you argue in court. Give somebody else the right to respond if you take their name. You ask me a question, I only implore you, sir, to go and look at my Twitter timeline and see my views on Bilkis Bano. I have come out and said that what has happened with her is very unfortunate. Now we can go back and discuss, and we will invite you for a lovely big debate on Bilkis Bano, the process, everything, and you can hold forth on all the loopholes in the judicial process. We are not on that tonight, Mr. Hashmi. Tonight we are on a simple question. Was there an attempt to whitewash what prima facie appears to be a crime that is covered by the definition of terrorist act? That was my question to you. Do you have an answer, pointed answer, or am I wasting my time, sir, with you? So, Mr. Hashmi, you have to respond.
Now, Rahul, please listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
Rahul,
yes.
Just listen to me very carefully.
Listening.
Have you read any good books on trial, that in what manner trial should be conducted? Have you read any good judgment on jurisprudence of bail? Tell me, name a single book. You are questioning my competency of practicing law. Now I am just asking you, have you gone through the Article 21 right to bail and the process of trial? From which book and from which judgment and from which document you acquire all these useless knowledge which you are telling me? Please tell me.
Oh my God.
Okay. For 1 second, I'll answer you. Hashmi Saab, first of all, I didn't even pretend to be a lawyer. Neither do I pretend to be a judge. You might pretend to be a lawyer. I don't. One second. Let me finish. Secondly, sir, I have not even questioned. Excuse me. You have expressed your point of view, which is going nowhere in this debate. So maybe I should just ignore you for 30 seconds. Let me bring in Sushil Pandit. Sushil Pandit, why are 3 of the 4 panelists that I have spoken to today evading this question after creating this bogey of Islamophobia? When the courts have punctured it, why are they creating now a whole set of alternative facts to try and cover up? What do you think is happening here?
Rahul, I have been noticing this in issue after issue and case after case. This has become a standard operating procedure. When you quote chapter and verse, when you quote facts about a certain belief, about a certain ideology, it is dubbed as hate. An honest, clinical, objective criticism today is dubbed as hate. It is not responded to in terms of the substance. When you talk about, when you share your lived experience, when you talk about your experience, what you have yourself witnessed or you have undergone, it is called phobia. This is the hypocrisy, this is the travesty of the times we are living in. It is, and we need to call it out. Now, when you invoke the word Islam or Muslim in order to get away with murder, get away with riot, get away with terror, what you are looking for actually is an exceptionalism in the system. You need immunity against law in order to practice your faith in terror, your faith in violence, your faith in practicing hate against others. So it is ironical that those who peddle fate, who peddle violence, who peddle extremity today invoke phobia, hate, and this exceptionalism for themselves. Now, coming to the substance of this case, as I have been hearing and reading about it, the UAPA invoked is perhaps the mildest euphemism to describe what happened. I am not an authority in law, but Section 121, which says waging war against India, waging war against our country, is most appropriate section to be invoked here. That section fits all the acts that have been committed here, and that section provides for capital punishment, which UAPA does not. I think we must look at this at the time, well, as the Sham said, that it should be at the time of trial. I don't know if prosecution can change those issues, but today we need to be absolutely stern and resolute in terms of curbing this activity. And irrespective of all these canards raised against us in terms of hate, phobia, exceptionalism, we need to pin this down, and capital punishment is what we need to ask for. We've lost more than 50 lives in these riots. Should be mindful of.
Mr. Ravi Srivastava, very quickly, I want to draw your attention to clause 64, page 50. Further, the weapons used, the manner of attack and the resultant death, destruction caused indicated that it was all pre-planned. Acts which threaten the unity and integrity of India and cause friction in communal harmony and creates terror in any section of the people by disturbing the social fabric is also a priori a terrorist act. This is a terrorist act. Would you have the gumption tonight to agree with the court, or would you still play the victim card? And that too, Islamophobia.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree.
Okay.
So first of all,
why?
Justice Anjana Prakash of Bihar,
Patna High Court, she has clearly said that UAPA is such an act which makes the person guilty before he is able to prove his innocence. So that's where UAPA stands. The big Kapan got more than 2 years languished in jail for covering the Hathras incident. Muhammad Zubair, for writing a tweet, was jailed, and
no, he didn't write a tweet. He didn't write a tweet. No, one second. One second. Srivastava ji, 1 minute. Srivastava ji, the courts have gone in prima facie and come out with a conclusion. You need to tell me, forget about the UAPA, the court is only applying a law, and it is only seeing if this law is applicable in this matter. If you have a quibble with the law, ask the Congress party. They have such big numbers in the Lok Sabha and in the Rajya Sabha and the entire opposition, they can easily overturn the law. I'm sure. But let's not go there right now. That's a different debate. I asked you a specific question. Do you concur with the views still, even after what you have heard from the courts, the views that have been expressed by certain left and Congress and other ecosystem members, that religion determines if one is to be jailed or not in this country? Efforts have been made to normalize Islamophobia. Do you agree with these views in the light of what the court has said? Simple, yes, no.
I clearly said in my first sentence, no, I do not. The person belonging to minority community, his crime is magnified multiple times. And the person who comes from the majority community, the crime has become micro. If it is Pravesh Verma, Yogeshwar Acharya asking on a public platform to kill the minority people by knife.
No, that's a lie.
Nobody takes a cognizance of that.
Please don't peddle lies on national television.
The person from member parliament, even for that matter, the Goli Maro.
Okay, Srivastava ji has also, viewers, drawn once again an equivalence. He has drawn another equivalence. He is not addressing the central issue. You see, viewers, this is the problem. Soon they will come down to saying that the entire judicial legal system has become imbued by Hindutva. Soon, I'm sorry, actually I forgot. 3 years back they actually said this. And the same Umar Khalid, viewers, 6 years ago, in 2016 stood up in JNU, and in the context of the Afzal Guru case, now remember Afzal Guru was sentenced to hang. He said it was a judicial execution, Ishkan Bhandari. Did he not say that, Ishkan Bhandari?
Yes,
judicial execution?
Afzal, hum sharminda hain, tere qatil zinda hain. Qatil kaun the? It was a judgment.
Yes. So, viewers, no part of the state will be spared. It just depends on where they stand. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, to bring in Sanju Verma. Sanju Verma, I just want to ask you a very simple question. Why is there, let's for a moment, it's a thought experiment, let's for a moment accept that these gentlemen are feeling very aggrieved. Is there any merit? Is there any merit for them to be feeling that only one community is targeted in this country and not the other? Can you, with 3 or 4 facts, respond to them that Hindus get away but not Muslims?
Okay. You know, Rahul, I've said this ad nauseum, but thank you for giving me the opportunity. Your channel has actually put these facts out in the public domain umpty number of times, and for the benefit of your viewers, let me reinforce. Be it Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, be it Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, be it Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, be it Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana or Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, more than 30% of the allocation disbursement under all these welfare schemes has been given to Muslims. In Narendra Modi's first term, 3.4 crore scholarships went to minority, especially Muslim men and women.
What is
Please do not speak in between. I did
they
not
are the
heckle
part
you.
of this country.
Rahul,
They are the citizens of this country. You are not obliging anybody. Are you obliging anybody? What an obligation. What nonsense are you talking? What is it, an obligation or what? They have to give it.
Continue. I refuse to speak.
1 second, lower his fader.
I refuse to speak.
Lower his fader. He's not going to allow anyone else to speak. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. In Narendra Modi's first term, 3.4 crore young men and women from the minority community, largely Muslims, were given scholarships. In Narendra Modi's second term, it is said that by the end of 2023-24, more than 5 crore scholarships additionally would have been given to the minority community, largely Muslims. So please don't sit here and give a bhashan. And let me tell you, barely a week back, you know, Paharis in the Kashmir Valley were given scheduled tribe status. And do you know something? More than 75% of Paharis are Muslims. So don't, you know, come here and play victimhood card.
Okay, let me...
Rahul, just 1 minute.
1 second, I have some facts. I need to wrap up, madam. I need to wrap up. See, they are not going to accept it. I'm going to give you some numbers. With regards to the investigation into the Delhi riots cases, viewers, this particular riot. Talking about the arrests, the police spokesperson said they arrested 2,456 people in the last 2 years, and around 1,610 accused have been named in charge sheets. Out of the total, 411 accused have been arrested by the SITs and 21 by the special cell. Many of them have been released by the court now. We have seen that 798 accused are Hindus and 812 are Muslims. A court handling the Delhi riots cases observed that the investigation has not been done on communal lines. So this whole bogey that Hindus are let off and only Muslims are incarcerated, viewers, debunked by the court. These are facts. Let's not give credence to these voices, viewers, who perhaps, and I'm not talking about this panel, I'm just talking about the voices that we constantly hear, who spread canards. We don't even know who is funding them, what their motives are. We don't know. You're certainly, the one thing I know, you're certainly not voting for them. And that's what counts. I leave it at that.